Pep Talk UK at the Wilder vs Fury presser. I'm delighted to be joined by the old school and the new school. I think it's fair to say legendary settings right now. I'm delighted to be joined by the Hall of Fame promoter, Bob Arum and Dean Whyte.
Well, it's great to be here, and I'm a fan of his brother Dillon, who's a hell of a fighter. So maybe someday we win this fight and we can go over to the UK and fight Dillon in the UK with Tyson Fury.
Dean, I think it's fair to say you might provide some strong backup for Bob Arum walking the streets of Vegas.
Come on, man, as always, man. This is, like you said, the Hall of Famer, man. This is someone you can learn from. He's been in the game a long time, and he's put on a lot of the best fights we've seen before my generation and continuing, you know. So, me watching him, like I said to him, I met him in Nebraska. And, I've come a long way since Nebraska myself, you know. So it's good, following, listening to him, watching the likes of Eddie, Frank Warren, all of these guys. And he's the godfather, you know. And obviously Frank's not far. Frank's a bit younger than him. So, this is the godfather. So these guys are following in the footsteps. So it's good. I'm not a promoter, I'm a manager, but at the same time, I still can learn because I understand the game and I see what people before me have done. So it's always been, in good company. I'm in good company right now.
What I want to talk about right now is something that I saw online. I saw Bob mention that Anthony Joshua isn't an elite champion or an elite fighter. Now, we've got a small forum here where we can discuss four.
I said before, and I'll say now, that Anthony Joshua, in my opinion, is not an elite fighter. I promoted virtually all of Andy Ruiz's fights before he fought Joshua. And Andy Ruiz, at best, is a little bit above average as a heavyweight. And for Andy Ruiz to knock out Anthony Joshua means to me that something is lacking in Joshua. And then you said, well, he beat him easily in the second fight. Sure he did. But Ruiz came in obese in that fight, and Joshua didn't go and attack him like a man. He didn't go to get retribution for being knocked out. He ran around the ring for 12 rounds and got a decision against a fat man. And what does that tell you? It tells you that Anthony Joshua is a frightened fighter, and a frightened fighter, just like a frightened animal, cannot survive in the jungle.
Well, I don't know what to say. Dean, I'll let you answer this one.
No, do you know what? Listen, I'm going to respect his opinion and version of that. It's Bob Arum. What are you going to argue with that? But my version is somewhat different because I look at this as it's called boxing. So what I look at is you've got Tyson Fury. For me, is probably one of the best, purest boxers. For someone who's 6'9", the way he boxes and moves. And, he's agile and he moves and he slips. I know some people were saying it was like a Tyson Fury-esque performance, but it wasn't to me. Obviously, he boxed and he moved quite a lot. When he decided to stay in a pocket and exchange with Ruiz, he got caught and you saw, fragilities of the old fight on June the 1st where he got stopped, But for me, I felt this was the only way for Joshua to win. So he had to adapt, he adapted like a wild animal to his environment, to his habitat, and decided saying, well, I'm going to get that piece of meat, I'm going to get it clean, and I'm just going to get out of here without the less damage as possible, claim the victory, and move on. And like I've said, I feel like when he goes and fights Pulev, I believe we're going to see the old Joshua come back out, which is going to be more killer instinct, and he'll sit on his shots a bit more. But sometimes you're going to have guys who are going to make you adapt and fight a different game plan. And it's boxing. So sometimes you might move a little bit more. Sometimes you might sit there in the pocket and you might have to trade. But I think if he did try to trade Ruiz, he would come up short because Ruiz is a fat guy, like he said, obese at the time, and he's got very, very good shot selection. So, Andy Ruiz is a handful for anyone. And that's just my opinion. Doesn't matter who you put in front of him.
Hey, what's wrong with being a fat guy?
What?
What's wrong with me being a fat guy or fat guys in general?
No, I mean, if you have too much weight on you, you can't move. And if you can't move in boxing and the your opponent is going to box you, you can't catch him. Now let's see what Joshua will do with Pulev. Pulev is my fighter. I like Pulev, and I like Pulev to beat Joshua. We'll see. It'll be June 20th in London.
But Walter, how does Dean's brother, Dillon Whyte, how does he fit into the elite mix, in your opinion?
Well, I think that Dillon Whyte is the third best fighter in the heavyweight division. I mean, I like, other than Wilder and Fury, I think Dillon Whyte is number 3. If I had to choose between him and Anthony Joshua, I would choose Dillon Whyte. I think right now he's the better heavyweight.
Well, Dean, you want to respond to that?
No, do you know what it is? Obviously, I think for me, I look at Dillon's tools, what he's got, his shot selection, how he puts his shots, his catch and counters. He's got a very unassuming jab because he's got very long arms. He's actually boxing skill and his boxing brain is very good. The only difference for him is he's one of the shorter heavyweights because, you've got the giants of the division. Now we're in an era where there's lots of giants. Tyson, Fury, Deontay Wilder, Washington. The list can go on. All of these guys are 6'6 plus, 6'7 and so on. So, I mean, Dillon is a short guy, but he's a mean guy and he does stuff with bad intention. And, I think, like I was saying earlier, for someone of his record that's coming from 7 amateur fights, when you look at the list of a lot of these boys, a lot of them are Olympians. Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz, all of them Olympians. Dillon has 7 amateur fights. To do what he's done and be in the mix with these boys is phenomenal. And that's all I really got to say, really.
I think we need to conclude on the result of the upcoming fight, the massive clash, Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber, versus the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. The good old mind games have started. How is this fight going to conclude?
Well, a lot of it is wishful thinking. As you know, you hope for a result. You never know how a fight's going to turn out. But I look for Fury not to make the mistake he made last time. Take the fight quickly to Wilder. Punish Wilder. Hit him in the body. Maybe if he gets lucky and really hits him hard and so forth, he can knock him out sort of in the middle rounds. Forget a second round knockout. Not going to happen. And then in the middle rounds, if you can't knock Wilder out, at least you've weakened him so that punch is more difficult for him to throw. You can't just box him for the whole fight because he's dangerous, like a guy you're in with a rifle. And you can get around him and he can miss you and so forth. But if you get tired and you lose your concentration, he can hit you with that bullet and it's over. So that's what he's got to avoid. And that's what I think Fury is training for. Go out, punish Wilder, weaken Wilder, and either knock him out in the mid-rounds or leave Wilder in a position where he can't knock you out. That's the strategy, in essence, that Muhammad Ali had with George Foreman. There was a case of the boxer knocking the puncher out, and I think it can happen in this fight.
Dean, your thoughts on the result?
I'm going to kind of echo what he's saying, really. I'm going to be rooting for Tyson Fury anyway. He's obviously from the same kind of pond. I think he just got to navigate away from the power punch of Deontay Wilder. And, I'm just hoping for an interesting fight. And I'm going to be rooting for Tyson Fury. I can't go any more than that. If they want any more, they can add me as a special guest commentator, and I'll be there. Bob Arum, he could invite me so I could have Dean Whyte, special guest commentating on the fight tomorrow night or Saturday night. Invite me. I'm waiting.
I'm pumped for this one. Wilder versus Fury. Signing out. Bob Arum, Dean Whyte. Pep Talk. Subscribe. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.